Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode. So, today we're going to be talking about 13 everyday objects of the colonial era. Early American colonists have not had, early American colonists may not have had electricity, plumbing, or cars, but they found ways to make daily life easier with these objects. It should come as no surprise that people living in the original 13 colonies lived harder lives than contemporary Americans. But colonists still found ways to get their work done, make themselves a little more comfortable, and even had some fun. From farming implements to kitchenware to toys, these 13 objects were commonplace in homes during the colonial period. Coming at number one is the fire bucket. In the days before fire departments, the entire community was tasked with putting out fires. Few houses were without a fire bucket, made of heavy leather and kept by the front door. People lined up and passed the filled buckets from hand to hand to put out the blaze. Empty buckets were sent back along the line to be filled again. Coming at number two is the flail. This important farming tool consists of two wooden sticks, a long handle, and a shorter stick known as a swingle or swipe, joined by a leather strap, a rope, or a short chain. Colonial farmers used flails to beat or thresh wheat and other grains in order to remove the seeds and husks. Coming in number three is bayberry, tallow, and whale oil candles. In the days before electricity, candles were a fixture in colonial homes. Many people made their own candles by boiling berries from the bayberry bush and skimming the thick greenish wax off the top. Farmers and hunters also collected and saved fat from animals to make tallow candles. But the brightest, longest lasting candles were made from spermaceti, a waxy material found in the head of a sperm whale. Coming in at number four is the wool cards. Most colonists didn't have access to pre-made fabric, so they made their own, often from sheep's wool. A key part of this process was carding, which involved pulling the wool fibers back and forth between two thin rectangular boards covered with wire teeth. Carding removed tangles and ensured that all the wool faced the same direction, making it easier to spin into the thread. At number five, you have hornbook. Though many boys learned to read and write from their parents or local ministers, and others received a more formal education, that wasn't considered necessary for girls. Many colonial era children learned the alphabet, numbers, and other basics by using a hornbook, a sheet of paper mounted on a tablet of wood, leather, or bone, covered by a thin strip of transparent horn. Coming in at number six is the sampler. No well brought up young girl in colonial America would be without her sampler, the ubiquitous piece of embroidered cloth on which she practiced the basic skills of needlework. Samplers ranged from simple letters and numbers to poems, family records, and elaborate depictions of religious and pastoral scenes. The whirligig. Without manufactured or electronic toys, many children played with games and toys made from common materials found around the house. The whirligig was a simple whirling toy made from a circular disc with a string threaded through the center. By pulling the string tight and releasing it, the children could set it the whirligig whirring and buzzing. Coming in number 8 is a pomander. This trick for making homes smell good actually dates back to medieval Europe. Its name comes from the French pomme ambre, meaning apple of amber. A piece of fruit, usually an orange, would be studded with gloves and rubbed with oils and spices to make it extra fragrant. Pomanders were often hung on ribbons and used as decoration, especially around holidays. Coming in at number 9 is the warming pan. Colonial era homes could get brutally cold in the winter before getting in bed. Before getting in bed, people would sometimes heat the bed sheets by filling these circular metal pans with coal, inserting them into the beds, and moving it rapidly back and forth to avoid burning the sheets. When not in use, warming pans were often hung by the kitchen fireplace. Coming in number 10 is the salt cellar. At many colonial dinner tables, the salt cellar, or standing salt, served as a centerpiece. In a tradition brought over from medieval Europe, the salt cellar also indicated the status of the diners, diners. Those seated above the salt were the guests of honor. Children and less important guests sat in the middle or at the other end of the table, or below the salt. Coming in at number 11 are sugar nippers. Sugar, a relative luxury at the time, was often sold in loaves and cones that could weigh up to 10 pounds each. This tool, also known as sugar shears or sugar cutters, allowed people to cut small pieces of the cones to stir into their tea and grind using a mortar and pestle to make granulated sugar. Coming in number 12 is a trencher. When it came to setting the colonial table, one of the most important objects was a trencher. These thick rectangular wooden dishes had hollowed out spaces in the middle for food. Colonists ate directly from the simple plates, often with their hands as utensils. Didn't become commonplace until the 18th century. And finally, at number 13 is the sundial. Watches and clocks were scarce in the colonial America. Instead, most people relied on the sun to tell time. To track the sun as it moved across the sky from east to west, they used sundials. These ancient devices told time by the shadow of a pointer cast by the sun onto a metal plate marked with the hours, and were almost as accurate as the mechanical timepieces of the day. Alternatively, people would scratch marks into a windowsill or threshold, indicating the position of the sun at noon. And that's 13 items. That is 13 objects of colonial America. Thank you for watching. Enjoy.